30 games left on the calendar for the Phoenix Suns. They are back in action tonight when they will take on the Memphis Grizzlies. We will preview that matchup later on here in hour number 2 of the show. About, 30 minutes from now, we'll get a full-blown preview of what to expect tonight. And I have a very important burning question. Now, producer Corey needs to be introduced to a new thing that we do here on the show, because I think all of these games that have been played for the Phoenix Suns have timed up with when producer Dylan is sitting behind the glass. Okay. So we're going to introduce you to the new game that we are playing here on the show a little bit later on. There's going to be something that you're just going to have to file something away for us. I'll explain a little bit later on, but I have an even more important question about tonight's game that we'll answer in about a half an hour from now. 30 games left. Outside looking in of the playoff race. Right now, you go to ESPN.com and you look at the standings in the NBA, the Phoenix Suns would not be in the play-in tournament as it sits right now. A half game back of a bunch of teams that sit at 27 and 26. So with 30 games left on the calendar, is Coach Bud coaching for his job? These next 30 games, if this goes south, we all think somebody is going to have to pay a price for that. No, we think if this season has to be flushed down the toilet, it has to be erased from our memory. We want to forget that this season ever existed. If it goes that south, they don't make the playoffs entirely. If they get into the play-in tournament, but that's it, they don't even get out of that, it would be a step backwards. Last year, you make the playoffs as the 6th seed. You avoid the play-in altogether. First round sweep. The following year, you either don't make the playoffs at all, or you make the play-in tournament and you're an immediate exit. That is a step backwards. Somebody is going to have to pay the price for that. Somebody's future is going to be at stake. Is it the coach? Is it the players? Is it somebody in the front office? Is it D, all of the above? Something has to change if this goes south in the ways that I just described. You are not going to just run it back. You are not going to say, oh, forget missing the playoffs. Forget almost trading Kevin Durant at the trade deadline. Forget trying over and over and over again trading Bradley Beal. Forget all of it. We're just going to run it back again. That's off the table. They missed the playoffs, off the table. They're a exit in the play-in tournament, off the table. I'll take it a step further. They make it to the exact same stage that they made it to last year, a first-round exit, off the table. You cannot, in good faith, run this back. You have already admitted that what we have seen so far isn't enough. You were willing to make wholesale major changes before the deadline. You were willing to upend everything by trading Kevin Durant back to Golden State to try to change things up, to get Jimmy Butler, to get additional pieces. You were willing to go to those lengths. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. You can't unring the bell. So if it continues down that path, if they continue to be the same exact team, if they end the year and we look up and they're 41-41, they're a 500 basketball team. That's what they were at the deadline when they were willing to make drastic changes. The sample size grew and things stayed the same. You are not running it back. So if this goes south, you are going to make wholesale changes. If this goes south and you miss the playoffs, if you are a exit in the play-in, Kevin Durant is not going to be on this team next season. Devin Booker may or may not be on this team next season. Let's kick the can down the road on that conversation. This roster is going to look different. So is Mike Budenholzer the right man to oversee a retool if things go south? If Kevin Durant is out the door and it's a little bit of a retool, we've been utterly clear on this show. We don't believe it would require a full-blown tear-down rebuild. We believe that this team can retool it on the fly. As long as they keep Devin Booker, there can kind of be a retool year or two where you take a step back, but then you're able to still be relevant and then boom, hit the ground running maybe in year 3. We have said that a retool, not a rebuild, could be in this team's future. Is Mike Budenholzer the coach that you want to oversee that retool? Does he want to oversee a retool? Or did he get back into coaching to try to coach a team for a championship? Does he want to kick the can down the road and have it be 3 years down the road where this team is competing for a championship again, where he can try to win another title as a coach? I don't know the answer to that question. Would something happening over the next 30 games change his status? Because to me, while it would be 4 coaches in 4 years, I'm not sure if Mike Budenholzer is the right coach to oversee the transitional period that we all think this team is barreling down towards in the summer. Does anybody think right now that the Suns are all of a sudden going to find it here over the final 30 games and we're not going to have tough summer conversations? On the day-to-day I put this show together, I've got a bunch of topics filed away for when the season is over. Trust me. Kevin Durant trades, Devin Booker trades, all of it. File it away. We're going to dust it off in the summertime. The content generation machine is ready to kick into full gear the moment this season is over. Nobody right now thinks that those conversations are not going to happen in the summertime. Everybody is well aware. Kevin Durant and his future, we're going to revisit it in the summer. If we can put it to bed for these 30 games and focus on basketball, we're going to revisit it. Whether it's in the summer or whether it's at the tail end of the season, it's going to circle back. So, does something need to happen over the next 30 games to change Coach Bud's future? Is he coaching for his job over these next 30 games? If this crashes out, if this goes south the rest of the way, is it just a complete reset? Is it a reset at GM? Is it a reset at coach? Is it a reset by trading Kevin Durant? Is it a reset completely at all 3 phases? Because let's face it, coaching is not the major problem of this team right now. It's a problem. It's not the major problem. The roster building is the biggest problem. And we know who put that together. We know who is instrumental in putting those pieces together. So if you make a change in the front office and you trade Kevin Durant, that kind of fixes your roster building problem. It allows you to change what this roster looks like. But you also may want to change coaches as well. But what does that say about you that you might be on 4 coaches in 4 years? Now, maybe you're willing to take the PR hit that comes with that because you want to wipe the slate clean. You want a complete, fresh look at all of this if you're Matt Ishbia. You want somebody new in the front office. You want somebody new on the bench, and you want to potentially have some new stars to build around. You want a complete reset because this iteration isn't working. I find myself looking at the question that I wrote. Is Coach Bud coaching for his job? I think that's an unfair way to frame the question because I think that puts too much blame at his feet for what is happening. This is a player problem. You have Kevin Durant, you have Bradley Beal, you have Devin Booker. You've got to play better. You got a point guard. You made a trade for a center at the deadline. You actively tried to make trades at the deadline to make this team better. You got Ryan Dunn. You got Oso Iguodala. You got a bunch of players to fix this roster. At some point, you have to look at the players. But if you're going to change the players, you may consider just changing it all. You may consider just wiping the slate clean. And yeah, it would be unfair to Budenholzer. It would be unfair to him to do that. But maybe it's the decision that you should have made last year that you didn't. And so he has to be the one that pays the price. Perhaps. Because I sit here wondering, is there something that he can do over these next 30 games? Yeah, if all of a sudden this team becomes the 6th seed and they avoid the play-in tournament and they win a first-round game and they completely turn things around, that's what it's going to take to probably take some of these conversations off the table. But that's not happening. At least not with the way this team is currently playing. And you got Bradley Beal hurt again. Kevin Durant is just coming back from an injury tonight. So we are right back in the same spiral that we were in at the beginning of the season. Without the trade deadline noise, we are back into the spiral of who's available, who's not. Can they beat good teams? Can they take care of business against bad teams? We are right back to where we were after that 8-1 start. Feels like Groundhog's Day. So is he coaching for his job? I think in some ways he is. Because I think if this goes south, it is going to be a complete overhaul across the board. You're going to see all 3 layers, players, coaches, front office, make changes. I think you're going to see a complete change across the board to start the new iteration of the Phoenix Suns.